Hey everyone, welcome back to the Funke Adventures YouTube channel. Today I'm excited to finally bring you the final episode of our camper build series videos. Now it's taken a while to get to this point and I apologize for that. Unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties and lost all of the footage from the end of my trailer build. So in order to finish up these videos, I'm going to kind of walk you through each step to finish up the camper. So the first thing we'll talk about is mounting the doors. I purchased these doors rather than make them myself. The doors are a high traffic component, so I decided to leave it to the pros to make something that was going to last a long time and would hold up to the traffic and hold up to the weather. Since I live in Utah, we get a lot of snow, we get rain, and I wanted to make sure these were going to hold out all of the elements so that inside we stay nice and warm and dry. I decided to put a door on each side of the camper so that it was easier to get in and out for my wife and I. We have our son. We have a lot of people going in and out throughout the night and throughout the morning, and it would really be a pain to have to crawl over each other. So I decided to have two different doors, one on each side. To install the doors on the sides of the camper, first I have to install the interior trim of the door. To do this, I line up where the trim needs to go and I tape it down to hold it in place. The tape is only temporary to hold it in place while I screw it in. Once I'm sure the trim is in the correct place, I go ahead and put in all of the screws around the trim. Once the interior trim is in, I can move on to installing the door itself. I again temporarily put my door into place, line it up as best I can, and then I put painter's tape on to hold the door up. I check again to make sure everything is lined up correctly, and then I mark with a little pencil or a pen exactly where the edges are of the door, where all of the screw holes are, just to get a good picture of where the door is going to go. I then take the door off, and then I can see exactly where the door is going to be. I can see where I need to pre-drill screw holes for all of the door. I also can see where I need to put my sealant, which in this case is butyl tape, to make sure it doesn't get squeezed out outside the door. So I can put that in enough to where it's not going to show on the outside of the door. Once I pre-drill my screw holes, I go ahead and put a little dab of silicone in each hole. This is probably not necessary, but for me it gives some peace of mind just to know that there's a little bit extra holding out the water between the outside and the inside wood. Once the butyl tape and the silicone are in place, I can then reposition the door. I'll put it on, I'll go ahead and put the painter's tape back on while I screw in all of the screws around the door. These doors also have a slot for vinyl trim. It's an insert trim that covers up all the screws. I honestly still haven't installed that. I really need to, but it does provide just a little bit extra protection from the elements. Next, we'll move on to mounting the rear door on the camper. This rear door is for our storage area. Some people call it a galley, but mine really is less of a galley and more just storage. I don't really cook back there or anything like that, but I do keep a lot of supplies and equipment back there. Ideally, I'll purchase a prefabricated door, but those can be really expensive, somewhere between $800 and $1,000. Eventually I'll get there, but in the meantime, I decided to make my own door. Unfortunately, this door swings up, which means you have to duck underneath it every time you want to go in there because the camper's not really tall enough for me to get underneath that without hitting my head, so I have to duck. In the future, I'll get a prefabricated door that swings to the side. It'll be a lot more comfortable. I use a hurricane hinge to mount the door onto the camper, and the hurricane hinge does an awesome job of keeping out any moisture from that storage area. It's important to have the hurricane hinge stick out a little bit past where the edge of the door is, and that really allows it acts as a gutter to keep water out of the inside of the storage area. If I were to cut those a little short, it's possible that the water would drip right off the edges of the hurricane hinge right into the storage area. Once the hinge pieces have been installed both on the camper and on the door, you can really just slide the door onto the hinge, onto the camper part of the hinge from the side. You kind of it fits right in the slot in the end, and you just slide it all the way through. You end up having to wiggle it a little bit because it gets a little tight in there, but it really holds out the water well, and I think it's worth the effort. Next, we need to add our gas struts to this door to make sure that it can open and close easily. There are some calculations that need to be done in order to make sure that the gas struts are located in the correct positions. I'll now show a little clip from one of the manufacturers of these gas struts, and it kind of shows some calculations that need to be done to figure out exactly where those pieces need to go. Once the gas struts are installed, we can add a little aluminum plate around the bottom and the edges for the door to have something to stop into. This aluminum plate will also act as a place for us to put a weather strip to keep out any moisture and dust. I've seen that dust can be a really bad in the back of these trailers when you're flying down a dirt road. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you can cover as much of that gap as possible with weather stripping. After the aluminum plates and the weather stripping are installed, we can move to our locking door handles. I try to add some butyl tape underneath each handle to make sure no moisture can work its way in underneath that handle. When doing this, make sure that your door handles are located in a position that allows them to clear the aluminum plating that we just installed. Our next step is going to be installing the solar panel and the electricity. Drilling and screwing into your camper can be a scary thought. I'm always worried that moisture is going to be able to work its way into these holes and I'm going to end up getting rot in my wood of the camper. That means anywhere I've put a hole in the shell of my camper, I make sure it's sealed up really well, either using butyl tape or using silicone or something similar. For the solar panel, I first put the mounting hardware onto the solar panel itself, and then I can position it on the roof where I want it to go, and I can mark where each hole for the mount will go. I then remove my solar panel so that I can pre-drill the holes for all of my screws. I use butyl tape underneath all of the mounts for the solar panel, and I also put a little dab of silicone in each of the holes. To mount the solar panel, I use special roofing screws, which actually have a little rubber gasket on them to help keep out moisture. These are great for anything that you're putting on the roof of your camper. I also use them when I installed my ceiling fan. As a little side note, when I do install the ceiling fan, I put butyl tape underneath the entire rim of it, and then I use these same screws with a rubber gasket to really seal everything in real tight and nice, and that's a sure way to keep the water out. Once I've used my metal roofing screws to mount my solar panel on the roof, I then need to run the cables for the solar panel itself. Here's another spot where you're going to have to drill through the roof of your camper. It's a scary thing, but as long as you seal things up really well with some silicone, it should be okay. So I drill 2 holes in the back corner of my camper to run the positive and negative wires from the solar panel down through. Fill that up with silicone. Those wires then go down through the back storage area of my camper, down through the floor and underneath the camper, where they then run through the trailer frame itself all the way to the front of the trailer and then out, and then they go right into the tongue box, which is where I have all of my electrical work. That's where my battery's at, that's where my solar charger is at, and that's where my fuse box is at. These next steps are really important to do in the correct order. If you don't do them in the correct order, it could fry your solar panel charger controller. You must connect the charge controller to the battery before connecting the solar panel to the solar charger. Again, you need to connect the solar charger to the battery before connecting the solar panel to the solar charger. Because the solar panel is pulling in light and solar power all the time, it is actually putting some electricity through those cables whenever they're connected to the solar panel. So those cables, if you were to connect them to the solar charger without being connected to the battery, it could fry that solar charger. So instead, make sure the solar charger is connected to the battery before the solar panel is connected to the solar charger. I then connect my fuse box to the battery. Each system or zone of electricity in my camper goes to a different location on the fuse box. I can then add different fuses depending on different amperage needs on different zones of my camper. On my fuse box, I have a fuse just for my fan, one for my interior lights, one for my exterior lights, one for the interior USB charge ports, one for my exterior USB charge ports, and one for my 12-volt cigarette lighter style plugs. Next, we can move on to the roof rack. For me, the roof rack isn't a huge necessity. It does allow me a place to connect my awning, but besides that, it really doesn't serve a whole lot of function right now. Someday I would love to have a rooftop tent, and when I do, it'll get connected to the roof rack, but for now, it hasn't really been a necessity. I could technically mount the awning directly onto the camper, but I do think it's better to be connected to the roof rack. It's just less holes that I'm going to end up putting in the camper. Now I'll have to mount a rooftop tent to the roof rack so that it's not putting any weight on the actual roof itself, but is instead getting put over the outside walls, which are where my roof rack is installed. So the weight gets dispersed to those outside walls and down, which are way stronger than the middle of the roof, which would end up bowing under the weight. I'm not going to go into a ton of the details of the roof rack here because I've already made a video of how I built that roof rack, which I'll put up in the top corner, and I'll link to it down in the description below. The last thing we need to do is make sure that everything is sealed up really well. It should have already been sealed up, but just in case, we decide to add a little bit more silicone all the way around any gaps between aluminum, any holes. Everything is covered up again with a little bit of silicone just to make it look sleek and professional. I use a black silicone to finish up all of these fine touches, and I think it looks great. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed following along with me on this camper trailer build series. And again, I'm very sorry for the delay in getting these videos out. I hope to continue modifying the camper, so I'll keep you updated on anything that I add or take away from the camper. If you have any questions about our build or want to share any tips from your own personal build, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content from the Funke Adventures YouTube channel. Thanks for watching!